on a new decade too, John.
You should put like Northern California.
New year. My year starts on the winter solstice, and I'm in year 69. 69 years since 1943 was a cusp.
What? How old are you?
Now I was born in the late 40s. I'm a baby boomer, the first wave of baby boomers. See, if you came home from the war, you wouldn't really get going till 46. So the real baby boomers aren't really born till late 46 or 47. So
When were you born?
47.
47. So you're.
He came back and had 6 kids spaced evenly over the baby boom. Every 3 years, 47, 50, 54, 56. The last one, Tracy, was born in 63. So my family is a template for the baby boom. Whatever I go through,
Right.
it isn't until the middle of the boom that it hits Time magazine, and then it's already over with. The fad is fading as it goes through the middle of the boom, and then so I'm riding the nose cone of the boom. Like the reentry vehicle.
Right.
Them shot off.
Yeah.
So I'm experiencing, and then as it goes through the culture, the fad or the wave or the phenomenon, it passes through me and then my siblings and then anyone else. So each year is 4 million. Now I've discovered the boom never ended. The average birth rate is 4 million a year. When you average it out, it never ended. It's always been around 3.6, 3.9, 4.1, 4.3 million a year. So even though they say that it was this certain era, it's only psychologically eras. The actual boom is going on. And apparently we're the only industrial country in the world that's not having a population decline because of the dearth of babies being born.
Oh.
We're getting it from all the immigrants coming in. They're the ones having all the kids. You really see that in LA, where the immigrants always have 3 kids with them. And my family was the last time that families had 6 kids. And my dad was so rich from the World War II, and he was in the best paid union worker there was in the U.S. He insulated all the power plants, the hot water, with asbestos. In fact, asbestos was in the name of his union. It was the Amalgamated as Pipe Fitters and Asbestos Workers of the World. And,
did he do all right? I mean, did he get sick?
Yeah, he was the first person to ever collect money from the asbestos industry. He sued around 1973 or 4, and we remember we all walked up with him into the courthouse in Los Angeles, and they settled right as we were going into the trial, so it wouldn't be a precedent. And he got like $120,000.
Not that much.
And today you still see, the ads for it. Come on down and get your asbestos money. But he never believed that they were doing that it was bad. But he smoked 2 packs of Camels a day the whole time. Breathed the asbestos he never missed a day of work in 35 years. From 1946 when he got out of the Marines, went to work every day. No vacations. And then he retired in 74. And he stopped smoking, he stopped asbestos, but he didn't stop eating steak and scrambled eggs, even though I just read a book that said it doesn't cause heart disease.
So what finally got him?
He died with his boots on. He was playing tennis in Palm Springs on a tennis court and just keeled over.
Heart attack?
It was heart disease. You can imagine the smoking, the asbestos, the diet, the heart disease. It all came together, I guess, and finally.
How old was he?
He's born in 1920, same age as Leary, 21. Well, it makes you like 70, 80 years old today. I think he was like 65. I think he died from a broken heart, rather, Emotional broken heart.
How so?
Well, because I saw him the last time he ate it. When he also retired. When he retired, he also got that settlement from the asbestos settlement.
Mm-hmm.
And then what they did is they got all the money, the pensions, the retirement money, the social. They tried to get it all up front, and signed off on everything to spend it now. And they just started partying with the money.
Who's they?
My dad and mom. First thing he did was drive a big giant yellow Cadillac to drive around in, like Frank Sinatra. And my dad was like Dean Martin.
Okay.
The same personality as Dean Martin and the Rat Pack. My parents, and they actually partied. They thought they were part of the Rat Pack.
Why would he have had a broken heart then?
Well, it started when Kennedy was killed, and then they had a falling out with the religion. It started with Tracy. 8 months before Kennedy was killed, we named Tracy. And the priest, when we went to baptize her, he said, "What kind of name is this? It's not a Catholic name." And me and my dad, we made up the name driving her home or something. And that was the beginning of the pulling out of the Catholic religion for my dad. So he was actually a devout Catholic, like an altar boy type.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they killed Kennedy, and then I came along, I stopped going to church, and they had a big showdown and said, "Oh, you can't live here anymore unless you go to church. It's a bad influence on."
The other
We
kids.
lived in a house with 8 people, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. We're all in the end of the hallway, 8 people. And they had the big showdown over Michael. And that was when I had my first 3 boxes ready to go of comic books.
How old were you?
I was 17 or 18 years old.
And how old was Tracy?
And I had a friend of mine, he said, "Come and move into my bedroom." He had an extra cot in the room. So I was ready to be kicked out. I left. Well, Tracy she would have been an infant because she was born in 1963. And that must have been 1964. Yeah, I was probably 17.
But your dad and your mom, they stayed together?
Yeah.
So that wasn't where the broken heart
They
came
were
from.
a perfect couple. They should have stayed, they never should have had kids. They should have stayed in Hollywood. They would have been like, they were like, what's that movie star with Richard Burton? They were better looking than Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor. And they acted like it. Their main thing in life was partying. And me and my brother and older sister did the babysitting for everyone as they went off partying. And they discovered tennis. Tennis was discovered about around 60 or so. It became a super fad with upper middle class people. They discovered he pretended that he was an engineering executive instead of an engineering worker, and got away with it. They had this whole social life of partying with rich people because of tennis. Allowed him to get in this social loop.
Huh.
And they would simulate being, he was, that's what he told them he did. I'm an insulation engineer. And like he was designing power plants instead of, insulating the power line, the hot water pipes. But he was able to support 8 people, Robin, on one union wage from 1946 to 74, and that's when it ended, and that's when the peak oil happened. And they stopped building power plants in California. And he had to move to Hawaii in Makaha. They built the last power plant over there, and that's where he retired. They had to move to Hawaii to get a job because there wasn't any more work doing that because the boom had ended. But what ended was the oil. They had to start importing oil, so they had to liquidate the middle class, did these people like this. Get rid of the unions to pay the oil bill. That's how you pay for you export union wages and middle class money to pay that gigantic oil bill every year.
What,
That's why the U.S. is collapsing, because They're having to liquidate everything to pay the oil bill.
What year did your dad die?
I think it was 85. He lived another 10 years.
So Tracy was in her 20s already.
Yeah, Tracy
Yeah.
lived with them since she lived in Carmel. They lived in the richest place. They moved from Carmel to Naples, Florida. They partied down there. Then they went back to Palm Springs, back to Carmel. Yeah, Tracy was all the way into junior college with them. And yeah, they tried to blame my dad dying on Tracy, you know, being like a rebellious teenager. And
That's the Catholic stuff.
yeah, it was terrible. But the church thing was really bad. The priest there in Del Mar, which is now an incredible library in Del Mar, California, this wooden church, is he tried to get my dad to pay the tuition for the grammar school. That was the last straw. The other thing was the house in Del Mar, the landlord had a down 2 blocks down the street on the beach had a tennis court and a pool, which added to the aura. That was part of this tennis socializing thing going on at that time. So anyway, the richest person they ever met was Kel Housels. He owned the Tropicana Hotel in Las Vegas. And
Oh, wow.
Kel loaned me $2,500 once to put on surfing films in Las Vegas, of all places. I forget the reason why, but
Did it work?
no, that was the day Kennedy got killed.
Oh.
The Thursday he was killed, they turned I had all radio advertising for the surf films. And all the radio ads there was no advertising in Las Vegas for that 3-day period.
Right.
And
Did you get muscled for the money back, or?
no, they said, you know, Michael, you should just postpone this for a month or something. And I was so blown away, I just said, no, we'll just do it anyway, you know. And, you know, only like 300 people showed up, but it was mainly all their friends, I guess. But it was very bizarre showing surf films on the Friday night that Kennedy was killed. It was really crazy, but that ended my surf film promotion.
So you would have been about, you're still a teenager.
Yeah. I was in 63, I was 16 years old.
Oh, God.
63, 64, 65, I was 18.
Right.
1760. I remember getting on the plane in San Diego and flying over my high school, and wheeler dealer going to Vegas to set up the surf films. I also put on music concerts that were huge flops. Like I put on a concert with what was that band that did Louie Louie? Remember that song?
Oh, yeah.
Louie Louie? There always was like 3 different
The
bands.
Kingsmen or the
FBI,
Kingsmen?
but there always were different people saying, we're the Kingsmen.
Oh,
And I
right.
wasn't sure which one was the real, but they came to the dance. I rented this big hall in San Diego. It was so pathetic. Nobody showed up for this dance.
Oh,
And the rent-a-cop said, well, it was so bad, they quit. They just said, we're leaving, and the Kingsmen, they just charged me like $300. That was another promotional thing that went
Yeah.
sour for. I don't know what the problem was.
Imagine
I
if-
was too young to be doing stuff
well,
like that.
if it had gone the other way, who knows
Oh,
what could
man, I
happen.
would have been
yeah.
a billionaire. I would have
Yeah.
been Bill Gates or something of the. No, that was my entrepreneurial. I was a little too ahead of. I should have probably been a little older to do that stuff, and more. I don't know why I thought surf films would go over in Vegas, except it was really. It's right when the summer that film blew up, the Endless Summer.
Endless Summer, right, yeah.
It wasn't the Endless Summer we had there. It was the ones right before that were Bruce Brown and John Severson. Surf films are still incredible. All of those things, I would have been a millionaire. Surfing industry, surfboards, skateboards, skiing, snowboarding. For some reason, I missed all of them for various reasons, you know. But the really big one was the mountain bike thing that started in Marin. Stuart Brand had an article in the Holler catalog or the Coevolution Review, actually interviewing the people, and these just started the mountain bike industry. These like two guys there just did this with the bike. And now today, like that $3,000 bike I bought, number one mountain bikes in the world are Santa Cruz. Still, now the exact same configuration on the cover of the magazines this month, $6,000 for those bikes.
Same bike as you have?
Yeah, the same model series where you're, titanium and now it's all 29-inch wheels, and they keep innovating. Each component is a state-of-the-art computer design, titanium, whatever, carbon fiber is it's some company, and that's where all the jobs are, is doing that.
And you could have been right
Each
there.
one of those companies is hiring people right now to do parts of the bike industry that are still booming, and that's part of the Patagonia boom. That's the model company where he took the bouldering, mountain climbing thing, the little pitons, and you begin innovating that, and then you invent, like they decided we're going to invent mountain climbing stuff that doesn't damage the face of the rock, that goes in and out easily, because people were wrecking the.
Oh.
And so it became environmental. So if you look into all those components now, and if you go into REI, there's literally.
Yeah.
That's where all the jobs have been and are happening.
But you're
nobody
saying
thinks that mountain climbing is a real thing to be doing.
You were there right at the beginning and might have capitalized on being.
I got sidetracked by whatever happened to me. I'm doing other things that are, over a longer period of time will be worth billions and hundreds of billions of dollars. Like my latest thing that I know will be a billionaire. You want to be a billionaire a year from now. Like the first baby boomer just retired yesterday. That was born in 1946 on January 1st. They just turned 65. Yeah. It's 10,000 a day is what it is now.
Oh, wow.
10,000 a day. Well, they need retirement villages. And so I invented the baby boomer Esalen-style retirement village that we're building in Hawaii this next year.
Who's building it?
I am. North Shore of Hawaii. And my sister is over there in Maui now. She's setting up when you build the baby boomer Esalen-style retirement village, you have to have a movie theater and a Starbucks and a bookstore with it. You know what I mean? When we grew up in La Jolla, it was called the Mithras Bookstore, where you went to see the art films. And 50 years ago, they showed Breathless. So that's what the next big thing is every baby boomer, the only place you would consider as a rest home is Esalen. The Esalen Institute.
Right, hot tubs.
It's been there 50 years. What it is it's the only successful commune that works with Americans, where you pay people to do all the work that hippies won't do, like the dishes and the laundry and the cooking and all that. You pay them union wages. And then people rent out the rooms and the seminars and the environment and the hot tub. And it's the only template design that works, because it's worked. You pay, basically it costs the same to live anywhere. It's in LA, 3 or 4. But the idea is, Esalen, if you've ever been there, that's where you want to retire if you're going to be living in one of these retirement hotels or motels, or like living in Motel 6s.
So your sister's over there setting what up?
Well, she's setting up, just talking to Melinda, she's getting the... See, these things are complete. I call them they're retirement villages, so they're a complete city, really. But when you start them, you just start it with, magazines, books, Starbucks, youth hostel, and the little film theater in there for the movies. Even though, see, all of that stuff we know from Marshall is an art form now. That's why, actually, the independent bookstore movement is coming back really rapidly. It started in New York. They have like 8 or 9 independent bookstores that blossom like mushrooms.
Wow.
And now that Borders and Barnes and Noble's bankrupt, they're not expected to be, and those stores should be gone pretty soon. But anyway, the independent bookstore movement is part of the idea is that you should live where you're doing that work. So if you're living in an Esalen-style baby boomer retirement village, you're going to have upstairs or downstairs, where you're living, the apartment. Or the they have in Esalen, they have a food garden. A lot of the leafy green vegetables are grown in a garden. But the idea is that at least the one that Melissa's working on is going to be the beginning part of it is a bookstore, because they don't have any magazine bookstores anymore. They're coming back, but it's the thing, like the ones here, wherever these places are, all the workers, like if all the workers at Starbucks could live upstairs, there wouldn't be such a high turnover. Because they get paid somewhere, they have to live far away from their work, so they're jamming up the streets every day, commuting. If they just lived upstairs at Starbucks or whatever retail business it is, it would eliminate all the money you're wasting on a car. That's $500 a month saved right there. Plus the stress of not driving. So the liveliness that you get in those places in LA like Main Street or Abbot Kinney or Montana is because of that density that people like. They like being in the mall. So the idea is to move into the mall and live there. And the new malls have apartments in them, so.
Move
it's
into
just
the
the
mall.
idea hasn't caught on you that you should live. Well, the only way out of the oil collapse and not being able to pay for cars is to live where you work and play. And then now the really thing, actually what's catching on fast is growing food in these three-dimensional buildings. I noticed that every magazine this month, that's the number one idea in 2010 for urban ecology is to just move gardening into all these empty skyscrapers all over the place and take or put all glass in and you grow all the food for the people living in the building next door or living in that building. That's what Bucky Fuller proposed. Since all skyscrapers are only filled up 40 hours a week when someone's working there 8 hours a day, 5 days. The rest of the time they're empty, so why not move in, just live there. And the way you do that is to pay for it is grow the food. Like every other floor is just all greenhouse, living greenhouse, gym, roof pool, movie theater on the bottom, Starbucks, whole life food. The idea is that if you concentrate everyone into living in one spot, that frees up all that 10,000 square miles for going back to nature. So you walk right into nature instead of driving 50, 70 miles. People already live that way anyway when they're in a condo or an apartment building. They don't know who their neighbors are. What difference does it make if you live in a 3D building? You're watching cable TV anyway. But that's the number one obsession that people have in their minds. They don't want to do that. They want to live in a suburban house somewhere, The most expensive thing you can do is live in a suburbia where you have to drive for everything, which is not affordable anymore. I mean, how much did we spend in the past 12 months on imported oil?
Right.
That's what's causing this crisis that's happening that nobody realizes. They don't connect that it's all because of the oil bill.
Jeez.
We don't have any oil. California peaked oil in '85.
Right.
And they still won't tax. This is the only place in the world that doesn't tax oil production is California. So we don't even know how much is here. But you can also graph the California peak of oil at '85. California really began going downhill because they have to liquidate. Now they're liquidating the union pensions for all the state workers to pay. What are they paying the oil bill? California even imports gasoline. So the quicker you get where you live, where you work and play and grow food, the better off you are. That's why we need to put in bullet trains everywhere and get the idea of living, upstairs or working where you live immediately saves it. Plus, it also saves on that's the number one expense everybody has is cars.
Michael,
After houses.
we're running a little low on time here. Have you got any words of advice for young people?
That's the advice, is the whole Earth catalog is coming back. It never went away, but it came out 40 years ago, and it tells you how to do all this stuff. And Jerry Brown, the new governor, Jerry is going to be sworn in tomorrow, the new governor. Governor Moonbeam, all his Moonbeam ideas now, they were just ahead of the time. So.
Do you think this means Linda Ronstadt will come back?
God, we would never have had Reagan if Jerry had married Linda. So I think that was a big mistake. He would have been the president instead of Reagan. Actually, if we had voted Leary in, we wouldn't have had Reagan. In hindsight, see, California's already lived through the Tea Party. We've just had 8 years of Tea Party Arnold. Then we've had 25 years of Tea Party Reagan. We know it, everyone knows it doesn't work, so we don't have to. That's what that voting last month was all about. Californians are aware of this, so the rest of the United States cut itself off and sinking. Said, see you later, California. We're going to the Moonbeam. We're in the Moonbeam world. Yeah, everything's in the whole Earth catalog, which actually Brown hired Stuart Brand to do something.
That's right.
Governor.
Yeah. Maybe he'll do it again.
Gary Snyder was the state poet.
Yeah.
I read Gary Snyder books. He's lived like this his whole life. Frugality. How do you get frugal? And what's the other one? When Jerry Brown had his radio show, he interviewed Paolo Soleri for 2 days.
That's right, I remember.
Anyone who knows who Paolo Soleri is, that's the only politician who does, says a lot about Jerry.
Could get interesting.
Well, that's the 3D city,
Right.
the 3D growing your food. That's what you have. That's the only way out. Let's take UCLA campus. You talked about young people. The idea is just move on to the campus. What are you doing driving there every day? It's nothing but empty space. So you both save on rent because it's already paid for. You don't have to really pay for rent over there. And no driving to school. That solves that problem of the tuition. In fact, you can actually graph the tuition that went up matches the liquidation of the oil bill to pay for the oil bill if you could find those numbers. So the only way out is to move on to the campus and live there for 4 years, and that demonstrates, a 3D city. You live where you work and play. So that's what young people do, just go onto the campus for 4 years and bing, bang, boom, John's radio show.